Thank you very much, and hello everybody. As Jonathan has said, I'm leader of Cheshire West and Chester Council, and we're really proud to be part of the Co-operative Council's Innovation Network. Just a little background about Cheshire West for those who don't know it. A lot of people think we're a lovely green, beautiful county, which we are, but within that there are a number of challenges that we face. So we are actually the fourth most polluting borough in the country. We have a number of really heavy industries. We've got SR, CF fertilizers, Vauxhall Motors. So we have a big challenge around pollution. We also have a number of areas of deprivation. So we currently have about 78,000 of our residents who live within indices of multiple deprivation at levels 1 and 2. We've also got a rural community as well, and with all the challenges that come round of that. So in 2019, when I first became leader, we put together a council plan that was around building stronger communities. And within that plan were a number of golden themes or threads that ran right the way through around climate, emergency, poverty, and mental health. And we really wanted over the next, well, this 4 years to drive forward around building that theme around stronger communities. As a council, we provided and commissioned a range of different services, but what we wanted to do was to change the way that we commission. And so I thought this afternoon I'd just take you on the journey that we've been on over the last few years. And I have to say, in 2019, I think I got a feeling that it was in the too hard to do box. And we knew that as politicians, if we wanted to drive this forward, there was a lot that we needed to do. So 2020, the pandemic came along, which impacted all of us. And actually, that too hard to do box became the has to do box. And it certainly changed the relationship, as it will have done across all local authorities, between the council, the NHS and the community and voluntary sector. And it changed because all of us came together with a shared and urgent priority that we need to deal with. And because we were in such a big sort of state of emergency, it meant that the decision making was streamlined. So we all worked together to find solutions. And I think that really started to change the way that our relationship was with the both the NHS and the community and voluntary sector. As everyone we saw local communities stepping up and registering to volunteer. We set up our own system for volunteering alongside the NHS one, and we got over 2,000 people that put their names forward to volunteer and help support that community effort. And we work very closely with our community and voluntary sector in linking those volunteers with different organisations across the borough. And what we found was that we needed to share information, our skills, our capacity and decision making. We all became almost overnight equal partners. And this different relationship that we built during the pandemic showed us just what could be achieved if we worked together after the pandemic. During that time, we set up a community fund. So we put £250,000 into a community fund, and that was matched by the Westminster Foundation. And rather than having a big process for community and voluntary groups to apply, there was a very simple application that they needed to do to bid for money or to apply for money to support their communities during the pandemic. And I think when we look back at learning from the pandemic, one of the things that an officer said to me was the biggest thing for her was learning to let go and learning to say yes. So we use that as sort of a way forward for us to build on. And I want to talk through some of the things that we've been doing since. So the next slide, please. So the next slide you're going to see is a lovely heart with lots of pictures of children in it. There we go. So this was our holiday activity fund programme. Lots of councils doing this, but we wanted to do it in a slightly different way. So our holiday activity fund is run by Essential, which is one of our council companies, but it's done in partnership with the Welcome Network, and this is done right across Cheshire West. So the Welcome Network is a food partnership between ourselves and the community and voluntary sector. Within our council, it's led by our public health team. And the Welcome Network is currently developing a food charter, and they're sharing good practice and collaborating, and in particular making the most of their collaborative skills and funding opportunities and resources, with an aspiration for Cheshire West to become a sustainable food place. So our holiday activity fund enables kids on free school meals to access healthy food and to take part in lots of different fun activities over the school holidays. And last year we had 120 community, voluntary and faith organisations accessing the fund. And I think the key to the engagement with this was streamlining the access to the funding without any bid requests required. And this has led not just to activities around food, but a real enrichment of activities, things like visits to Chester Zoo, hairdressing, forest schools, hiking, and lots more. And one parent said, it's really helped as I have 3 daughters and I'm not always able to do activities with them. This kept their minds and bodies on the go, keeping them active and well. They really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed going to the sessions with them. So our holiday activities are now going on throughout all of the holiday times, not just, and this was how we built on that community fund that I described during the pandemic. Because there was such a massive response to the community fund, we've set up Cheshire West Crowd, which is a crowdfunding site run through Space Hive. And this is where residents and local groups can propose projects and request funding. And there's also opportunities to attract funding from their communities, from the council, local businesses and foundations, all in one single portal. So we put in £200,000 to fund a number of community projects that aligned with our council plan around climate change, suicide prevention and tackling poverty. And 27 different projects were funded, and currently there are 8 that are currently on our site seeking funding. And we've just closed the cut-off date for our second round of funding. And the types of projects we've had are things like there was a community films being made, a refurbishment of a community centre, helping to provide a segregated cycling and walking path. So lots of different projects that the community is now delivering based on our council plan. And I think all of this has helped us to actually build our relationship with the community voluntary sector and build that trust as we move forward with our ultimate aim of doing commissioning in a different way. So the next stage, and if we can go on to the next slide, is our compact. And it was interesting hearing from the other councils, because you seem to have similar sort of things. And we had a compact with the public sector and the community sector that was signed many years ago, and it was, if you still had dusty drawers, it would be kept in a dusty drawer somewhere. But we decided that based on the work of the pandemic that we really needed to do something on our compact, and because of that we worked, the public sector and the community sector worked together to come up with what we think is a really strong positive compact that will put in step how we want to work together over the coming years. And it is our commitment to change the way that we work, and certainly our other public sector partners have made that really strong commitment too. And it's about building on the relationships that we've got and improving our partnership working. There's still a lot more to do, but I feel that it's you know, really a positive step forward around that shared purpose, co-production, partnership and collaborative working. Working around the compact, the first thing that we did was the household support fund that the government introduced in the winter. We topped it up with our own local winter poverty fund, and the community sector were the key partner in terms of ensuring that that got out to our residents, building on all those strong links that they've already got. And this has enabled us to target resources to those in greatest need and the harder to reach communities. And it gave us the opportunity to learn more about the impact of funding and outcomes for our communities to inform future allocation of resourcing. And I think the next thing that we've now done, which is our next slide, is how we've changed our commissioning approach. And I'm really pleased that we've got here, because I think in 2019, it really was in the hard to do box, but I know that we're driving this forward. So in terms of changing how we commission, we're shifting the focus of commissioning away from a transactional process towards something that's more holistic, that's developmental and outcome focused, and an approach on building partnerships and understanding of what's needed and what's actually worked. And I think the confidence to do this, to build this different way, has really been through the trust that's been built up over the last three years. And I've heard that word trust coming out really strongly today, and building that sense of common purpose. And by taking a long-term view of the kind of services we need in the future and what kind of organisations we need to provide them. So this has strengthened and built new relationships to help with our market shaping. So for example, we've set up an adult social care commission, which is a combination of providers, industry experts, academia, and the voices of people who use services to help shape the future market and what our commissioning intentions will be around that. We want to create a commissioning environment which encourages, enables the community sector organisations to access and to be successful in all of our commissioning exercises. And we're going to use the opportunities we have within legislation to commission in ways which promote innovation, creativity and diversity in the market. I think we talked before about that locally based commissioning. I think that's really quite important, and we want to support very hyper-local services. It's important that this is, everything we do now around this is values led and is supporting the delivery of our council plan. And I actually know the guy that I'm going to mention next, and I noticed his name in the chat. He's the chief exec of the local community and voluntary sector umbrella group, and he sits on our commissioning board, which is developing in particular a forthcoming commission tender around community support as we look to make it more accessible. And he actually said in a meeting, you can't actually believe he's sitting on the board, and he never thought it would get to a position where he could do that. And I felt really chuffed at that, because I felt we'd come a long way. So I think reflecting on where we are, I think, I do wonder, if the pandemic hadn't come along, would we have, got this far in such a short amount of time? Because we really were thrown together. I think that if we come together with that common vision and purpose and start co-producing the services and looking at that much more collaborative approach, I suppose the proof will be in the pudding, and our first big test will be on the recommission or the development of our community support service later in the year. And I'm looking forward to how that all pans out, but I'm feeling very, very positive. And I hope, Gary, sorry, if you're still there, I'll mention you. I hope you're feeling positive too. So thank you very much.